Hello and welcome to Conversations with Sahar. Today we're going to talk about why knowledge alone is not enough to change your life. Have you ever understood exactly what is not working in your life and are you still repeating it? Perhaps you have read the books, listened to the podcast, have taken courses, spent years learning about yourself. You understand what the problem is, you may even understand where it comes from, yet knowing all of that has not necessarily changed anything in your life. Well, you're in the right place if you're wondering why. We can learn about personal growth, relationship, behavior, practically anything within minutes. I am part of that world. I have written books, created tools, and shared many of what I have learned throughout my years in the podcast. I value knowledge enormously, but through more than 3 decades of mentoring people, I've learned something very important. Knowledge and self-awareness are not the same thing. You can know a great deal about your personal growth without recognizing what is actually happening in your own life. You can understand the patterns intellectually without seeing what you are repeating. And if you cannot see what is happening, you cannot change it. Isn't that the truth? That is what I wanted to talk about today, that knowing something, knowledge is one thing, but acting on that knowledge is really quite another. So here are a few concepts I want you to keep in mind. Number one, knowledge is not the same as seeing or becoming aware of something. You can often see what is happening in somebody else's life. You can listen to friends and you know exactly why they're stuck, what pattern they're repeating, and what it's doing to them in that situation. From the outside, when you're concerned, everything looks the same, but it becomes much harder to see what your experience is about. Your issue becomes so familiar to you that you hardly notice what you're repeating. You hardly notice that you're going through the same thing. You may carry, for example, beliefs unconsciously, you're not aware, and you keep acting on them, which perpetuates the same experience. You may reach conclusions about yourself that have been outdated many years ago, but you didn't change your perspective. Over time, these will cause a repetition or cause us to be stuck in our path. It is one thing to understand the idea of seeking approval. It is quite another to find yourself hesitating over an important decision because you really care about what someone else might think of you, particularly at work. I see that a lot in my clients. That moment of recognition is awareness. Now that you know something specific about yourself, you can change it. Concept number two, you cannot change what you're not aware of. This is the foundation of my work. You cannot consciously change what you're not aware of. Awareness helps you to look beyond the general dissatisfaction of the job to understand or spot where it is actually coming from. Perhaps the work itself is no longer interesting for you. Perhaps the environment is not conducive for your own personal growth. Or perhaps something has changed within you, within your choice of career years ago, but you're not aware and it's causing you this stucky, uneasy feeling now. These are very different situations and they require very different action. The same thing applies to our dissatisfaction in relationships, for example, where we keep repeating the same pattern and we end up saying, this always happens to me. Well, awareness allows you to look at what is your part that you're actually playing without being aware. That is where I see self-awareness as practical. It's not about endlessly analyzing yourself. It is about pinpointing or bringing to your attention the area that you need to tackle, which is why we suffer. So the suffering is the symptom, but it's actually an invitation to sort something out that we have missed. The other concept is that we are multidimensional. This is why I have developed the 4 dimensions of change, which is what I call the BEMA methodology. BEMA stands for body, emotions, mind, belief system, and accountability. It comes from recognizing that you cannot fix one part without addressing the others. Sometimes clients come in knowing what their situation is. They self-diagnose and they say, can you give me a quick technique for so-and-so? And I say no, because that is often the symptom, but we need to look for the root cause of the problem, which could be in another dimension. So you may get a tummy ache, but it's actually resulting in a belief that you cannot resolve, and so on. It could be a belief that you have carried for many years, and it has influenced the way you see life, your perspective, but also the way you think and process information. When we observe the 4 dimensions, we can build a bigger picture. Perhaps something that you liked at one point no longer excites you right now. Perhaps it's draining your energy. Perhaps intellectually you're no longer stimulated in a job, or emotionally in a relationship. We are a matrix, and different things happen. We are complex human beings, and different things are happening at our different layers. I call them the 4 dimensions because mainly these are the 4 dimensions, but you can understand that within each dimension there's a separate mechanism and a separate biological apparatus. So it is important that you learn to pinpoint what does the issue stem from, become aware of it, and then decide what you're going to do about it. The other concept that I want you to have in mind is that you need time out. You need time to process. You need time to decompress, to reflect back, like looking in the rearview mirror and understanding what has been happening in the last few weeks, in the last few months, in the last few years, what themes have been building, what seeds have been growing, good or bad, it doesn't matter, but it's all information. And you can make better decision when you're aware of this holistic, WHOLI, information that your body, your emotions, your mind are picking up on. In fact, every cell of your being is picking up on it. Sometimes it simply means giving yourself time to notice what is appearing in front of you. What has changed? What keeps coming back repeatedly, asking for your attention? What are you overlooking because it's in your blind spot, or that it is inconvenient to change? I think the hardest thing to do when you are entering the self-awareness or self-growth process is being truthful with yourself. We avoid it because it hurts, and we are built to avoid pain. And therefore you will find sometimes that the most intelligent people are the ones that clone, or is clone the right word I'm looking for? They cover their issue and they go around it rather than tackle it immediately. But once you do it in an issue that perhaps you are less emotionally tied to, it becomes a lot easier to break that mask, to break that wall, and you will actually look forward to facing yourself truthfully. Believe me, it does get easier. And it's very rewarding. Once you've done it, you recognize there is nothing to be frightened of. And then it becomes easier to keep observing benignly yourself with love and kindness, rather than, like some people think, I need to punish myself or self-flagellate. Don't do that. That doesn't work. My easiest example is if you think of your own child or a child. If you spoil them for whatever they're doing, they don't listen, they sulk, and they go into their own shell. We still do the same. And that is why awareness needs to be with curiosity. Oh, that's interesting. I feel really awful today. Or that's interesting. I reacted to what he or she said. And you remove the threat that way, and then it becomes a lot easier to reflect objectively. The other thing I want you to recognize is this. It is action that creates the change. My clients often say, I'm trying. I say, no, you're not doing it if you're trying. And I think I've given you that example before. When you go home after work and it's kind of dark, do you try to switch on the light, or do you just switch it on? So it's not the overthinking and the mulling over and over something. It's actually doing something that can create the change. So change, self-transformation, transformation is based on an action. A lot of people are frightened of taking an action because they think, what if I'm wrong? Well, great. If you're wrong, that's telling you right away that this is the wrong action. So you can trace your steps back, modulate your behavior, take another action, and so on until you get it right, which will actually, what you're actually doing is helping yourself to come into alignment. Through the wrong action, you're learning something that you would not have learned by thinking about something. So thinking doesn't mean action. But action can give you more information to perfect or recalibrate. I prefer recalibrate rather than perfection, to recalibrate your actions, but also your perspective. You begin to see things differently. So when you see things, you can adjust the behavior. So if you catch yourself saying, I'm trying, then you're not, because doing it is doing it. Trying it is not actually doing it. Another way you can tell whether you're taking the right action or not is look at the result. What is it giving you? Is it better? Does it make you feel better? Do you feel you're going more in the direction that you wanted to? Or are you still whinging, complaining, and mulling things over? So very often the feedback you get is guiding you towards the right action. So change is not about taking the perfect decision. It is a process of becoming more aware, more understanding of yourself and your life and the situation that you're in. So how do you learn how to guide yourself? This is a subject that is really important for me. The minute that you can walk on your own, I let go of you. I mean, not really let go of you. I have the group and I have the AMA twice a year. So I don't drop you, but I encourage you to walk your own path, to practice being aware of what you're doing, what decisions you're making, and so on, and whether your life is in alignment or not. The more aware you become of yourself, the better you become at recognizing what suits you, because your different bits get integrated and all the dimensions are now speaking, communicating to each other. So you'll know immediately if something doesn't sit right with you. I've put all of that in Find Your Joy, my book, my upcoming book. I think it's released in October. You can pre-order now. It's a fabulous book. I've designed or created a unique set of cards to do with the 4 dimensions. So by using the book and a spread and asking the right questions, you can kind of tell where the block is or what issue needs to be addressed. And I hope that you really take me up on my offer and pre-order and order and work with it, because it will help you to observe yourself, to become more self-aware, and to guide yourself by yourself. Before we close off, I want to ask you one question. What is it that you're not seeing about your life? What is it that is in your blind spot? What is it that you keep complaining or planning or, taking resolutions but never actually getting them done? You need to face them, because they will bring you back to yourself. Very simply, notice what keeps repeating. Notice what you believe. Notice how you feel about a situation. Do you look forward to it or do you cringe? That is usually a telltale sign. Then ask yourself, what possible action can I take under the circumstances? I mentioned my driving instructor. Drive into the space. What can you do now that can bring about change and change the situation that you're currently in? Finally, knowledge is only the beginning. Knowledge matters. It can introduce us to a whole new world that we did not believe or were able to see before. But it isn't everything. Knowledge alone cannot change your life. Awareness will. Recognizing what doesn't sit right will help you. Seeing yourself in terms of the 4 dimensions of change can help you recognize which aspect needs to be clarified, which aspect of yourself needs to come home or in alignment. The action may confirm that you're moving in the right direction. If it doesn't, then you adjust. Either way, you've learned something new by not remaining still. Because knowing where the door handle is good, but you need to walk through the door. And this is what today's episode is about. I hope it has brought you into self-awareness more, and that you will join me next Monday on Conversations with Sahar. I have to say that I've also received a few requests to do this series in Arabic. I'm sure my Arab listeners also know that I speak Arabic, but if you wanted me to send me a message or text message or an email on WhatsApp or whatever way you want to reach out, and if there are enough, then I will listen. I usually wait until I receive the request 3 times in a row, and then I say, no, that's it. I can't ignore it. But I have released or clipped previous episodes in Arabic, and I'll hope that you'll be able to see them on social media. Tomorrow is Unbox the podcast. Join me again so that we can continue the courage to be you. Show up, stay true. Until next weekend, I look forward to our conversation together.